Today, the battle for cash continues. Hello again, it's Martin North from Digital Finance Analytics. Welcome to the latest post covering finance and property news with a distinctively Australian flavour. Well, there's been some interesting developments in relation to cash and the use of cash around the world. In the UK, they're now trialling outlets, including post offices and other local institutions, to make sure that cash is still available. In Scandinavia, several countries there are now under more strict obligations with regard to making sure that cash is available and cash transactions can happen. And in New York, cash is also now required to be accepted as legal tender in the shops. So around the world, the pendulum seems to me to be swinging back in favour of cash. But in Australia, we've still got a significant issue. And the pinnacle of that is a particular legal case with Westpac. And I caught up with Paul Thomas, the guy caught in the middle of this, and this is an update with regard to what's been going on. I'm joined by Paul Thomas from Commander Security. Hi, Paul.
Hi, Martin. How are you today?
Yeah, very good. Thanks for coming back on the show again. Now, we did a show a few months ago about your unbanking, and Westpac, of course, was the other party to that conversation. I think we can now say that as it's out in the public domain.
Safe to say. Yep.
Yeah. And the story there was that you operate in a cash handling business, one of a number of players across Australia, and basically they've put roadblocks in your way and basically took away your bank account so that effectively they were trying to turn you off, right?
Pretty much.
And the thing has sort of progressed a bit from there. So let's just first get an update on that particular side of the story. And then there's another story to tell as well in the same thematic. You know, there's more pressure to try and take cash out of the system.
Yes, 100%. Well, my case is still going. We're before the courts now on the 31st of this month. We're still waiting for documents to be produced for us to review the evidence that has been suggested by Westpac towards us to be able to then counteract that argument. But in hindsight, when I look at the whole picture, I'm still of the notion this is a commercial decision. It's nothing in relation to AML, CTF or risks associated with laundering of money or anything like that, because if that's the case, I would have been raided by now by authorities, and I still hold all my licenses. I still hold all my requirements to operate a security company, and not once have I been approached or discussed. So I'm more and more of the notion this is just a deliberate attack against me.
And, you know, to be clear, this is basically, the hypothesis is that they really don't want to have, cash in the system. They don't want people to actually provide those services, et cetera, et cetera. So it's part of that big picture story, isn't it?
It is. I don't think it's the fact that they don't want to have cash in the system, so much to speak. I think they want to take the players out of the market that are costing them money with cash in the system.
Right, and that's because, of course, the handling. And look, let's face it, handling cash is expensive, it's complicated. Cash is heavy, right? There are security risks, and it's not a simple process, right? But effectively, keeping cash in the system as an alternative to, online services is important. And also, as you say, they've got their own competing services, haven't they?
They do. They've now moved into facilitating and operating cash in transit services using the approved companies that they've aligned with commercial wholesale arrangements, which is creating an uneven playing field in our market, and it's unfair and it's anti-competitive.
Right, and so that's really the cornerstone of your argument will be in court when you have your day in court. Good luck with that. But they actually fired another shot across your bows as well, didn't they?
They have. It came across just through sheer coincidence with discussions that have been had, because obviously we've got a contractor network that we talk to and we have around the country. And I think everyone looks at me as the go-to point because of the fight that I'm currently undertaking with Westpac. And I just got bombarded with phone calls and emails say, hey, our guys are Westpac is removing their business express bags from the offering of business and commercial customers from September 30 this year. And I'm thinking to myself, that can't be correct. Surely not, because how are business customers supposed to operate their businesses that use this service and that use companies like ourselves to pick up their daily banking in these bags and deliver it to the bank on their behalf? And as sure as anything, I reached out to every single one of my Westpac customers, and so far it's come back. My one customer said to me, his exact words to me, "Seems like your intel was on the money, pardon the pun." And it looks like there is something in the wind, but have been told there will be options available.
Okay, right. So just to be clear, this is basically the situation where a retailer or a school or whatever basically has the facility where they can collect cash, put it into a wallet effectively, and then pass it to the bank either directly or indirectly, and then the bank processes it. That's the sort of the model, isn't it?
Correct. And they're designed to be a convenience where instead of us, like, because we have a workforce of armed and unarmed officers that go around and do this work, and by Westpac, like the introduction of these bed bags is a convenience thing, and it eliminates the security risk associated with us having to stand in queues and stand at bank tellers waiting for cash to be processed across the counter. We simply hand them the bag, they stamp our docket, and away we go. Whereas now it seems like the alternative has been suggested by one of the business bankers for one of my clients is you'll just have to take the money to a branch and they'll line up and deposit it across the counter, which takes away the argument that they had originally in that they don't really want to have excess cash going across the counter and us waiting in lines and in queues.
Right. And that's really the point. So effectively, they are making it less convenient and easy for you guys to operate. I also have this feeling it's part of this broader canvas again of trying to say, well, you don't need cash anymore, just use online. But, if you're in a school and you're collecting money from a tuck shop or for, dinner money and those sorts of things, surely cash is a critical part of that, right? So it seems to me that they're nibbling around the edge of this, use of cash as well as part of the story.
They are, and like in the words of one of the business bankers, it was suggested, well, stop accepting cash as a payment option. And what right does a bank have to do that when their ADI license says they're a financial institution and a deposit-taking facility?
Well, that's the point, isn't it? Cash is legitimate. Cash is a legal form of tender, and therefore it should be part of the normal business process. And that's really the problem I've got. So on one hand, you've got banks trying to squeeze costs like never before because of what's happening with margin compression, and they're looking for efficiency, and they're closing branches, and they're taking out ATMs and all of those things. Right? And the cash element of their business is quite costly to manage, and yet it's such a critical service for consumers, and so all the time it sort of swings back towards the commercial interests of the banks, never mind everybody else.
Correct.
And how do you think this is going to play out then ahead? Because are other banks going down the same route, or is Westpac leading the charge here?
Well, I think Westpac's leading the charge, but I honestly believe through suggestion of a branch manager that works for Westpac in a conversation I had earlier this year, he said all the banks are going to do it.
Because they've all got the same pressures, they've all got the financial concern.
Exactly. But ultimately, at the end of the day, what is the solution going to be? Because they're limiting the capabilities of businesses to be able to use independent companies like ourselves, which will force them to have to use the operators, which cost more for the business, although they're promoting it will be a cost saving. Well, it's not, and we know that.
Right. Well, you're up against the 10,000-pound gorilla, literally, right? So here, how's the battle going? And you have a GoFundMe thing going on. Is that going well?
GoFundMe, yeah, it has been building a bit of momentum, but it's stalled because I've just literally run out of puff of where I can send it all to, which is why I'm encouraging, because I never once in a million years expected this to happen to me. And it's not something that I would never bestow this sort of thing on my worst enemy. It's not a nice thing to go through. Like, I've been battled 7 months of heartache and absolute hell. It's been an emotional roller coaster ride. It's been financially draining. I'm only a small business. My turnover is less than $800,000 a year, and I'm fighting this bank for my rights because, yes, they're attacking my business, but they're attacking me personally as well. And even on a personal note, I'm struggling to get alternatives when it comes to my superannuation and my life insurance policies because of the nature of the beast that I'm in. There's a lot of insurers out there which are saying, no, because I'm involved with firearms, not going to touch you. Whereas I had that with no issue with Westpac's insurance team and policy.
Right, and that's the point, really, as well as the direct consequence with Westpac. There's that fall-over effect, both in terms of, mental health and financial and all those things. Those are the other measures which, may not be directly financial, but are actually critical too.
They are. And the only reason I've been able to fund this fight so far is because of the assistance with the COVID and the pandemic that occurred, and JobKeeper that helped me get through, because I didn't think I would have a business this time last year. But I managed to get through. I managed to pump through it. I got ahead. I got financially ahead, which was absolutely fantastic. But now I'm financially behind because I've spent nearly $80,000 to $90,000 so far, and it's not over yet.
Well, we'll put the link to the GoFundMe initiative that you got there, because this is an important battle on principle, isn't it, as well as essentially just your business, right? Because this is the question of the relationship between the big guys, how they call the shots, and everybody else, and it's also the battle of cash versus not cash.
Correct. Like, I'm the first security company that I am aware of that has been a point of target by the bank in this effect. Given the relationship and the meetings that I've had with Westpac, they know my business. They know what I do. I even attempted to try and get commercial wholesale arrangements with the bank and had meetings with representatives from the bank. So it's not as if they didn't know what I do.
So what you're saying is they've entered this with their eyes open, with the consequences clearly in view, and therefore it's a matter of survival for you, but also there's this point of principle, which I think is also very important, and that's why I'm very pleased to give coverage on the DFA channel here, because folks, this is about the future of small businesses. It's about the ability to be able to do cash transactions the way we want them, and the expectations that we have from our financial providers to be there and be there for us, rather than just looking to maximize their profits.
Yes, 100%. And I think the real solution to all this, and it's something which we've all it's been drummed into us by yourself, by the Citizens Party, Robbie, and the team at the Citizens Parties. We need this national bank. We need this national bank, and we need it now, because it's about time that we have a people-owned bank that works for the people, that will ultimately force the hand of the big four banks to act responsibly against its customers.
Well, the point is, of course, at the moment we've got the banks who have this quasi-competitive relationship with each other, but they all follow each other, and basically there's very little competition. So we do need a new force. Now, whether that's a version of Australia Post or something else, there has to be a way out of this, rather than just trying to perpetuate the current system, which is designed to maximize the profits of the banks, designed necessarily to turn off services and reduce services and withdraw services rather than add more services, and frankly also steer everybody into a digital future rather than actually recognize that cash is still legitimate and legal, and it should be there and facilitated as part of the process. So there's a critical issue here, isn't there?
There is, definitely. And then what happens at the point when systems fail or go down? Like, look at the CBA, it failed in the last couple of weeks, and customers weren't able to use their tap and go or their cards. So what did they need to turn to? Cash.
Yeah, absolutely. And we saw examples of that through the bushfires, when everything but cash was not possible, because the towers were down, the power was down, you couldn't use any of the plastic. So, yeah, no, this is a critical battle. Well, best of luck with your battle over the next few weeks. And, keep us updated with how this progresses, because this is an important fight, not just for you, although it is critical for you, but also for broader Australia and Australians. So all power to your elbow.
It is. And I would just ask all your listeners, please share this video, bring awareness to this, because if you think it can't happen to you, you'll be wrong, because I never thought in a million years it would happen to me. And please support my GoFundMe page, because this could change the future for everyone.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. Well, good luck, and we'll keep our finger on the pulse here and look forward to what happens ahead. Thank you for your time.
No worries. Thanks, Martin. Appreciate it.
Thanks. See you later. Now, standing back, of course, the truth is that we need to ensure that cash is still available for us to use. We can continue to use digital if we prefer, but nevertheless, the use of cash and the availability of cash is still critical, and that's despite the fact that banks are closing branches, ripping out ATMs, and many retailers are pushing people towards using digital rather than cash. We need assurances from the government and from the Reserve Bank that cash is going to continue in circulation and continue to be available for as long as we, the community in Australia, want it. And I think it's time we turned up the ante a bit and basically made quite clear to those in power that we think cash is something which is a civil liberty, it's a right, and it should not be taken away simply because of commercial reasons. Now, it may well be that we need to step up action here to ensure that those rights are preserved. And we'll be talking about that in more detail in a future post. I'm Martin North from Digital Finance Analytics. Many thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next time.